Hope everybody's doing well. I apologize for my last minute entrance. My computer decided it's a good time to act a little crazy. So anyway, thanks for being on. I see, of course, Karen, who we will have on in just a second here, Mike, Thad, and let's see, we got Sally jumping on. Thank you all for jumping on. We got more people popping in here. Very excited to have everybody on today. And if you don't know Karen Fox, you're going to enjoy this presentation. She's fantastic with social media, does a great job with everything. So I am going to make her a presenter, and then she should be able to take over the presentation here. So let's give her a second to get logged in. There's Lori. Hi, Lori. Thanks for jumping on. Another Sally. We got two Sallys on today. Hi, Karen.
Hey, Will.
How are you today?
I'm great. How about you?
Fantastic. So we've got a good group going here, and I'm going to let you go ahead and share your screen. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to let you do your thing. I know at the end of it you have a little special offer you're going to give to everybody, so that's exciting. And of course, we are recording, so we will make sure that anybody who isn't able to stay for the whole thing or able to connect can follow up later. So that'll be good.
Well, first, before you can begin any of your social networking whatsoever, you have to know your perfect client. And with that being said, forgive me, it pops back there. Okay. If you don't know who you're speaking to, you really don't have any way to build an audience because you cannot speak to the masses. You know, if you know Dale Furtwängler, he talks about the fact that we don't, even though we can sell to 100% of the people because of what we do, we are never going to sell even to 80%. We have to find our 20%. So when you look for the perfect client, you've got to know all these different aspects about them: their age, where they're located, their gender, income level. This is nothing new. You've always heard this. But typically what happens is people start doing their social media and they're just doing it. They're winging it. They're doing what they think they need, but they're not necessarily targeting the right audience. For example, I worked with a high-end builder, and we went through and finding out their perfect client, and they said, oh, we know who their perfect client is, and they gave me this list, and it was the male, and he had this job, and da-da-da, and by the time we finished looking at who they were selling the most to, it was actually the women's CEO. So we had to adjust our images because all they had was males in their image, so that did not allow them to attract the right client, which is their image. So you have to know your perfect client. So go down that list, and you'll be able to get this actual form if you want to use in the future. But go through, and I always believe you have three perfect clients. You have different sectors. For instance, if it's real estate, it might be that you're selling to empty nesters. It might be the brand new first-time home buyer. The third one might be the one that's downsizing. Doesn't matter. You have three different categories. So make sure you start with that client. Now we're going to get into some of the tips for the social media. How's that? Do you believe you should be on all social platforms? They're in the chat box, so Will can see it. Do you think you should be on all social platforms? We know they're not all created equal, but do you think you should be on all of them?
I'm watching for replies. Dad says no.
Okay.
So it is funny how some social media people say, or especially business owners to each other, you got to get on all the social media platforms. That's something you got to do. No, I would not be on Pinterest since we are a sports website. That makes sense. And Mike says no as well.
Very good. It's the perfect answer. And you're right. Most social media marketers, unfortunately, we get a bad rap because so many kept saying, you have to be on all of them. You have to be on all of them. you have to have a presence on a certain amount of them, but you need to find at least 2 that you can do extremely well, and meaning that you can engage with the people that are on there, because to be on there and no engagement, no involvement is no value. You may get a little branding from it, you may get a little bit of reputation, but if you cannot engage with them, you're not doing what social media was created for. Social is the key word. Social is the interaction. And on Facebook, everyone knows Facebook individually, personally, and I would venture to say majority of everyone, men and women today. I've been doing this 10 years, and when I started, it was mostly women that were on Facebook. But I would venture to say majority of them are on Facebook. And I call Facebook the referral of the referral source, meaning that you may be selling moving services, for example, and I may not need them, but my cousin I know is moving. It's like, oh, Nisi, you have got to call them, because this seems like a really great mover. These are the extra things they do, because I've been watching them so long and seeing great content that I feel like I know them and I trust them. So that's what Facebook does for you if you're building a brand well. Now, there's some advantages to Facebook that the others don't have, and that's one thing is the advantage of groups. The first thing on groups is you can have targeted followers. When you create a group, you can invite whomever you choose to invite. You can make that group private, which means they can still find it, but they still have to have you agree. You can have it secret, where the only way they see it whatsoever is if you send them a link or you're inviting them to it. The other thing is you get greater engagement, because now you have built a community. And everyone wants to belong to a community. Let's face it. We all like the areas that we belong to. I love the fact that Will and I both are a part of E4E, Experts for Entrepreneurs. It's a group we love to be a part of. So what you're doing here in Facebook is you're creating this particular community, and it allows you to have greater engagement because those people are already targeted. You're talking their language. You're talking about things that are important to them. The other thing is that typically we have it set to get email updates. So when someone says something on our group and we want to know about it, we get an email update. So we don't have to be on Facebook to see it, but we'll also get an update on our email so we can go check it out if we choose to. Like I said, we're building a community, and that's exactly what the important part is. And the other thing is you can do polls on there. So you can ask the people that are a part of this community, your group, what they want to talk about, what they want to see. And the other thing I highly recommend on groups is that you make sure you have locked down the rules and what you expect on that group. So if it's a group you want no selling on, or if you want no soliciting, it doesn't matter. You put down what you want. I had to go back on one of my groups and say that I would not allow live feeds on my group, because there would be people be on there doing live feeds, and they'd have 30, 40, an hour, and that's not what it was about. It wasn't for them to control the group. It was to them to contribute the group. The big thing on Facebook that will get you the most engagement and the most power is going live today. Will, I know you do things on Facebook as well. Have you gone live?
Yeah, I do. I try to do one a week at least for several different brands, and it's always good. I think the trick with going live is you have to have enough to talk about to go 10 minutes or if not longer, because it takes, I'm sure you're going to say, it takes a couple minutes for them to get going and to tell everybody that you're live, and get those people to start to engage.
Exactly. And Facebook originally said, and that's where you're getting this, the 10-minute mark. They have recently backed that off to 7 minutes. And again, that's exactly what Will said. They're trying to gather this audience. And you've seen it in your feeds that pops up. Will Hankey's gone live. And you jump on and you see if it's something you're interested in. And they said just yesterday, I heard that to be considered a view on live, that it takes 3 seconds for you to stay on there. That's all. So that's not too much for to be counted as a view. But when you're getting on the live,
Wow.
what happens for you is it builds your credibility with Facebook. They go, oh, this is content people want to see. And the difference in doing a live and doing a video on there is a video doesn't have the same feel to it because it's not really Facebook's platform. Like if you're taking a YouTube video, they want you to stay on their platform, and that's why they'll give you more love. And this is where everything is going. So if you're not comfortable doing a live, I suggest you start trying it, even if you just start doing the short story things. The other thing on going live to remember, if you have not gone live, I will never forget my first one. You know, I'm in the business, and here I am, I go live, and I get off, and I think, did I really say what I just think I said? You know, because you're really questioning, because that was live. You don't have an opportunity to go back. But I had the opportunity at the end of that to hit publish, so I could post it, or I could have deleted it. So you do have an advantage that only the people that were on at that split second saw it, or you can erase it and not post it at that point. If you do not have the Facebook Pages Manager, go to your app section and get that. It makes it so much easier because otherwise you're going through your personal profile to get to your business pages. And especially if you have more than one, you definitely want the Facebook Pages Manager. It's extremely important. It makes it very, very simple, and you don't have to worry about, you know, are you on the right platform? Are you speaking from yours? Or are you speaking from the business? Because that's what used to get mixed up previously. So this just makes it easier. We're going to go into Twitter
Karen, I do have
next.
a question for you.
Sure.
Sally wants to know, what do you think of polls that are not in a group? Does it help having a poll just on a regular Facebook page? I assume she means a business page.
That would be correct. Well, polls are good at any time because you're engaging and asking for the opinion of the people that are a part of it. So that's always good. The advantage you've got in a group is those are already targeted, totally targeted people that are in a group. But absolutely, polls are always a good thing. But anytime you involve someone else's opinion, that's an advantage. Absolutely.
Yeah, Facebook's really looking
We're
for
going to
the
move into Twitter.
engagement side of things. So that works really well. Sorry,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right, Will. I mean, I just listened to it. Yes, amazing. Everything that's really being done to only allow you to do things and get really a lot of engagement and movement is if it's your own content. That's why those lives are so important, because nobody can duplicate that. That's you. It's live. It's as much natural as you can ever get. And so using that to your advantage. Okay. On Twitter, I have to tell you, when I speak out and I ask how many of you are on Twitter, it is the least used platform when I'm speaking about it. And in a few minutes, I think you'll see why. Before I go on any farther, if you can put in the chat if you're using Twitter, I would love to see how many of you are using Twitter. Okay. People
Karen,
ask
I think
all the
I
time,
told
what
you the only time I use Twitter is when my favorite sports team is on or I'm at a conference. I'm not using it, and specifically not for business, for sure.
Right. And that's pretty typical. And but however, when you get asked, what do I even talk about? How do I find quick content? I'll tell you, Twitter is the easiest place to find content because you can set up your trends on Twitter. Say that a few times. But set up your trends on Twitter. And if you weren't aware you could do that, you can tailor it just for what you're looking for. And if you go in the search bar, put trends, and on the left-hand side, it will show up a little ways down, your trends. And so if you will put in there what you're looking for and what you're following, then it will give you a pretty good idea of the things that you want to be on top of it, so you can be sharing with your audience.
Huh.
So it allows you information to share. Oh, awesome. So it allows you information that you can share that'll have links, that'll have images, those kind of things. But it lets you know what's up and foremost. It's on the cutting edge there. So that's what I use Twitter for more than And sorry, no sports teams do I really follow that closely. I'm a fair
Yeah.
weather fan, sorry.
Sally did say that Twitter is actually the best for sports fans, and that's her target audience. So there you go. There's somebody who's definitely using it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. The other place to find content, it comes to you. Now, I learned this from Will Hankey years ago to use the Google.com and set up alerts. Alerts will send an email to your inbox, and you set up the alerts for whatever you want. Now, of course, I have an alert for Karen Fox, but those need to be in quotations. At first, I didn't do that, and I got anything that had Karen or Fox in it. So I got a lot of Fox News. So make sure you put the quotations around it. I have Karen the Connector. I have social media. I have sales and marketing. You can see, you can keep building it out, but make sure, if nothing else, you're watching your own business and see what comes up. You can also set up Google Alerts to watch your competition, so you see what's being said about them in the news. So this just is a simple way that, again, I learned many years ago from Will Hankey to make sure it's coming directly to me. So if I'm not paying attention, if it comes up, I automatically get this email on it. Any other tips you want to add to that, Will?
No, I think that's great. Now, one thing you can do in Google Alerts is put Karen Fox in quotes, and then you will only get alerts when that exact phrase is mentioned.
Right. That's what I'm saying with the quotations there. Okay.
Yep. Then you won't get the Fox News alerts, right?
Exactly. That's what that common name, last name. Okay. On tweets with video attract 10 times as much engagement. Now that really surprised me. I mean, we know video is huge. It's huge in every platform, but I didn't realize with tweets, because usually it pops up as a link and those kind of things. But the maximum time you can have on a video to be on Twitter is 2.20 minutes. So when you're building your videos out and you're creating them, just make sure it's not going over that, or it won't be allowed to be posted on there. Sally, I'm interested. Have you done anything with video on Twitter?
Yeah, I didn't know there was a 2.2 minute max on that. Now, let me ask you this: how is Periscope related to that? Isn't that a Twitter product?
I don't know. I don't do anything with Periscope anymore.
Yeah, I know, it was so long ago. Well, I just thought I'd ask.
Right.
Sally says they're not doing anything yet with video on Twitter.
Okay. Well, it lets you know if you're using Twitter, video is a place if you're going to get more engagement. And, you know, there's so many platforms where you can just take images and make videos that it'd be a great place for you to begin.
She said, I'm interested in what you just said, so I might start.
Okay, very good. Okay, the best video links that were shared was Instagram with 30 seconds. Now, that doesn't mean in stories, because stories is only 15 seconds. But if you're adding a video to Instagram, you can do 30 seconds. You can do more, but you can do 60 seconds. But the 30-second is the best link. It's where they're finding the most engagement. And here you go, Sally, for Twitter, it's 45 seconds. And Facebook, this just changed with the algorithm. It's 3 minutes. You know, everything we taught before was less than 2 minutes, that kind of thing, but it's 3 minutes because that's their PowerPoint, and that's where they want everyone to be on Facebook doing video. Okay, and the YouTube is also 3 minutes. Now, this is why I probably am not seeing a whole lot of people at my events that are telling me that they are mostly involved in Twitter, because most of my events, the people are business owners that are over 24. But the most engaged age on Twitter is 18 to 24. Doesn't say that's the only ages on Twitter, but that's the most engaged age. So if that's your target market, by all means, that's where you spend time. You make sure that you're spending time on the platform where your audience is. For me to get on Twitter and spend a lot of time and leave out Facebook or leave out LinkedIn would be silly on my behalf. I would be cutting off my nose to spite my face, because that's not where my ideal clients are basically hanging out for business. See, on Twitter, they say images in 3 to 4 times more engagement. If you've got an image, they create 3 to 4 times more engagement on Twitter. Now, if you're trying to build your Twitter and that's where you're trying to build that engagement, retweets get more followers. They have found that the @ so @Canoe Media, @Will Hankey, grow followers 17% more than they expected. And you'll see the only difference here is how much you're going to take time to be engaged. So if this is my ideal platform, that's where I'm spending my time engaging, being social on the social platforms. Now we're going to talk about Instagram for business. Many people are on Instagram, but there is a big difference in what you get on Instagram for business than you do Instagram personal. First of all, Instagram on business, all it takes to change over to that is very, very simple. It's just strictly going into your settings and changing it to business. But the biggest thing and the huge difference is the insights. So when you're doing it for business, you want to know, which hashtags are doing better. You want to know what kind of results you're getting, how many people are liking it, where those people are from, all those kind of things that you want to know on insights that you do not get the opportunity to know if you're using it as personal, even with your business name. It has to be a business Instagram account. Now, Instagram is an image-only based account. So you have to be very careful because you want to make sure your image is powerful. And you can do quotes, your own quotes, like mine is here when I work with clients a lot, and they'll say, well, I'm doing like so-and-so, I'm doing like so-and-so. I say, are you getting results? And they're like, well, no. I said, then don't follow the leader, be the leader. And so that's why I put that Instagram post on mine. But you've got to be sure when you're doing these posts that the image is powerful, your content that you're putting in is powerful to the post. And the difference is you cannot add a link to this. The only link you get is in your bio. So if you're having a big event and you want to send them to the event, then go change the link in your bio to be the link to the event. But because of that, people, we're really lazy. If it's not easy for us to just click on, we tend to not go do that. So be very, very careful that you're not spending all your time talking about a link and not giving them information. For example, for a property management company I work with, when I talk about it, I'll put a link on their other platforms. But when I come here, I give a little bit of information. I might tell where the information came from. So you might find this great article on so-and-so's site. But here's the tips I think are great. And you list off those. Because, again, you've got to have it in the content and you've got to have it in the image. Now, what is a hashtag anyway? Now, I'm old enough, a hashtag was just a number sign. So when they decided to make it a hashtag, and by the way, who gave them that right? Who decided that? Either way, we know it's a hashtag today. And so when you look at a hashtag, most of the people say, so what do I do with a hashtag? What does it mean? Twitter was the pioneer. They allowed us to hashtag things. But what a hashtag does for you is it allows you to funnel all the content that's being said about that particular hashtag. So it's hashtag, the number sign, and then whatever you want to say. So it might be hashtag sales and marketing. It might be hashtag marketing. It might be hashtag sports. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you choose to use that. And we'll talk in a minute about how you can find those. But whatever you put on there, then you can go in the search bar in every one of the social platforms today, from Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn to every one of them have a search bar, and you put the hashtag and what you're looking for. And everything will funnel down, and you can look at exactly what's being said about those hashtags. Did you know on Instagram you can follow the whole hashtag? You can search for a hashtag. I did events here. You'll see events, hashtag events. There's 13.4 million posts, and I can follow just that hashtag. So I can start seeing what's coming up. So working with a events programmer, we wanted to look at and see where we could find other things that are going on with events so they can connect these platforms and they can connect to the restaurants and whatever may be using these. And so following that hashtag, again, allows you to go through and click on it and see who that is, and then you drill down and follow those people. But it gives you a way to find them, again, funneled down all in one place. And I am thrilled when Instagram changed and did this so that we could actually get to everyone using that hashtag instead of going through everyone individually. Is anyone using hashtags? Yes.
Yeah. Sally said that hashtags are huge for us. Hashtag STL cards and hashtag STL blues. I use those when I'm tweeting about those particular teams as well. I got a question. Are there any platforms that you should not use hashtags on?
No, the amount of hashtags is where it goes, the difference is. Even now, LinkedIn is encouraging you to use hashtags. And they're actually having you put them in so certain hashtags come up for you. So every platform now is allowing them. Just, you want to be very careful. And we'll talk about it in a minute, but Twitter, you can use several in there. The thing I really discourage is people making up all these hashtags. Went to Walmart, it was crazy, hashtag. We know that, but the thing is hashtags are to make them discoverable and be able to find things on them. Nobody, well, maybe there are people that would put that in there. Went to Walmart, things are crazy. But they're to be discoverable. They're not, now some people are just funny. I have a friend who's just crazy and comes up with these wonderful hashtags, and they're just funny. But she's not looking for anyone to do the exact same hashtag. But for business, we want to be able to follow those. We want to be able to drill down to them. So be very careful that you're not using too many hashtags. And on the next thing here,
I have a question from Sally. Go ahead. Sorry. Does
I lost you there a minute.
I'm sorry. Sally wants to know if Facebook uses hashtags.
Yes, Facebook does. You want to be real careful because if you over hashtag on Facebook, it's not that Facebook has a problem with it, but it's the perceived value on that end of the people following you on Facebook. They start to feel like, well, you didn't care enough to come to Facebook to do anything. You just put it out there, and it's what you're doing on Twitter, it's what you're doing on Instagram, so it all just got shared. So that's where you have to be careful how many you put on. But no, Facebook allows that, and you can search.
Yeah,
now on Instagram, go ahead.
Thad says, I love hashtags. Many of my postings have been found and liked due to the hashtag.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, using at least one hashtag on Instagram averages 12.6% more engagement. Just one hashtag. And now you can use up to 30 on Instagram. What I really highly suggest, if you're going to use a lot on Instagram, that you save in a file, whether it be on your phone, whether it be on the computer, but save several lists so you can rotate them. So you're not using the exact same ones all the time.
Oh, interesting. Probably a good idea to keep a list of which ones get the most engagement too, I guess. Put a list of those together.
Yes. Absolutely.
I've got a couple other comments here too for you.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Sally says, with the other question, are hashtags universal so they would all use the same one for the same thing? Same on Twitter, same on Facebook, etc.
I think that could be debatable. Probably very similar, but depending on, like you're on Twitter, so So you're taught, Will's already made the comment too about using them for now STL Blues, St. Louis Cardinals, those kind of things would probably be standard, but there might be certain things that are industry specific. So I would have to look at that and play around with that. And just go start checking hashtags. See how many things are being said about them. If you put a hashtag out and you go, you just do baseball, that one may not get near as much as if it's St. Louis Cardinals.
Makes sense.
Any other questions on hashtags?
Nothing else oh, wait a minute. She's asking if I use STL cards on Facebook as well as Twitter. I don't. In fact, I don't post on Facebook terribly often. I use Twitter as my outlet to vent about the Cardinals.
Just don't pick on them. I may be fair weather, but I don't want picked on.
Right.
Okay. The advantage to Instagram, though, is you can cross-promote with every post you put out. And this is where I would be very, very cautious at using those 30 hashtags if it's going to go to Twitter and Facebook at the same time. So be cautious and think that through when you're putting them on there. I used to tell clients up to 5 is never going to be a problem. But when you start getting over 5, then people start, in Instagram, you don't pay attention to it because it's down farther, so you don't see that as much. But when it's up close and personal on Facebook and Twitter, because it has to be, then be cautious. Be cautious. Don't overdo it.
Yeah. Do you, by cross-promote, do you mean that on Instagram, when you're posting something on Instagram, you can click a checkbox or something to also post this on Facebook and also post this on Twitter. Is that correct?
Correct, at the same time. So this makes it easier. So you're taking, you're into Instagram. And the fact is there's so much, with Instagram being strictly images, that's something we do quickly, where many times you think through what you're doing on Facebook and Twitter. However, those images are appropriate no matter what platform you're on. Okay. The thing on Instagram that's the most popular and getting the most engagement is stories. And they are really, really encouraging that on Facebook and on Instagram. And of course, Facebook owns Instagram, so that makes sense. Now remember, you only get 15 seconds on a story, and a story is only up for 24 hours. And what most do not do and don't even think to do when you're doing stories, and I have to tell you, stories has not been an easy thing for me. I'm more of a storyteller. So I like longer things. I like more involved in it. So telling something very quickly has been a little harder for me. It's kind of like when Twitter only allowed you 140 characters instead of 280 characters. You had to tell it quick. And so stories for me, I've really had to work on. But if you'll think about stories, if you're using them to build business, and I'm not saying when you're doing stories they have to all be business. I think if they're all business, you'll run people off. So, it might be something about family. It might be, like I had one the other day, I had to drive around a goose that was sitting at the stop sign. I don't know if she had a baby or what, but anyway, it's not typical. So that, I shared that kind of thing. But on the other hand, I might be sharing something that's strictly to do with business on, did you realize with marketing today, like for instance, we didn't talk about with Facebook, they really want you, when you make a comment, for it to be at least 7 words, because that gets more clout than if you're just leaving an emoji or if you're just saying okay or I love it. They want 7 words. So with stories, give your call to action at the end. For more information, check out my site. For more information, go to, and you can give a website if you want to, when you're giving that story. So learning to use stories, I think, is probably one of the top priorities right now, because they're getting so much clout and it's getting so much more engagement. And I've watched stories on my end. It's a very wide spectrum of age groups. So I think that's why the stories are being so powerful. Just don't forget your call to action.
Yep, I'd agree, and I'd even say that a lot of brands are using stories to their advantage right now.
I would agree 100%. They're really thinking that through. And on everything you do, you need a strategy. Why are you doing it? If you're just doing it to be doing it, you're probably not going to get the results you're looking for. So make sure you have that strategy built.
Yeah.
They say, and this was,
Could you go into
came up.
stories a little bit more deeper? I'm sorry.
Sure. Okay, on stories, you
What is
only
the
get, like I
difference
said, the 15
between a
seconds.
regular post and a story post? If you
Sure. On a story post, it will only stay for 24 hours. On a regular post, it will just stay on your platform. Did I lose you?
Yeah, that makes sense. So a story is really kind of a quick hit, something about you or your brand, but it goes away, like you said, after 24 hours.
Right, and I'm kind of looking at stories as like, there's some things I want to leave on my platform forever. That's great. I want everybody to see it. I want them to be able to come back to it. Other things are just real, like it might be that I'm at an event. It might be just something that just happened. Somebody, got engaged. It might just be a trend that's taking place that I want to show on there. Those kind of things. So I'm just looking at it as little, just if you'll think of a longer video and you're just taking a little clip out of it, and that's what your story is. Any more questions on stories?
No, I think.
Okay. They say on Instagram, posting 1 to 2 times per day is ideal. Now, ideal means that's what you're committing to. When I talk to clients, it's like, okay, what are you willing to commit to? I don't really care how many times. Of course, this would be ideal, but I would rather you commit and stay true to this amount of times. They say the best times to post is during off-work hours, 11 a.m. to 1, so it's basically lunchtime, and the 7 to 9 p.m. They're saying the most important posts save for Wednesdays and Thursdays because they tend to generate the most engagement. And this is their stats, not mine, but they say Sunday is a definite no-no. Now, I have to say, depending on what you're posting, I would have to disagree with that. Maybe for most businesses, but depending on what your business is, again, I would define that very clearly, and I believe in test and measuring. So you put it out on a Sunday, and if you don't get any engagement, okay, we don't do it again. We're smart enough to figure that out. Now, here's a tool for Instagram if you want to see what the top hashtags they're using on Instagram are. And so it's just keywordtool.io/Instagram. So keywordtool.io/Instagram. And you can see what's the top hashtags on Google, top hashtags on YouTube, top hashtags on Bing, Amazon, eBay, Play Store, Twitter. All of them are listed. And so you type a keyword in, and then they'll let you know. I thought this was a great little tool I'd found. Will, do you have any other tools you use?
You know what?
I just said it a minute ago, but consistent.
Well, not for Instagram. Yeah, I use a website that I can't think of at the moment, but it's more for just generic keywords, not specifically for social.
Okay. Well, if you think of it, share it with us. Perfect. The consistency, again, if you're not consistent, you're losing your credibility, you're losing your momentum. What happens with all the platforms, and Will can speak more to the SEO than I can, but the SEO, keeping that up there is so important. So you've got to stay consistent, because when you don't, then it drops back down. And it's not like, you just can pick it back up and get back where you were and keep moving, but you've got to get back to where you were again. So for clients that go, I think I'm going to stop doing social media for a little while, I beg them, do not. No matter what happens, make sure you're putting something out there. When those bots come through, no matter where it is, You want to make sure they're getting content. So stay consistent. Now, I will tell you, I am having the greatest results with my clients for posting 3 times a week. And the 3 times a week determines on their industry. You know, whether I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, it depends on what it is. So you have to know your own platforms. And I didn't mention it on Facebook, but you've got amazing insights on Facebook. You can see when your target markets are on. So you've got to make sure that you go through those and watch them. You don't leave that to guesswork. Okay. Let's talk about LinkedIn. I'd like to know how many of you are on LinkedIn.
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm using it
I know
quite
Will
often nowadays. 6 months ago, I wasn't using it all, and I was pretty much ignoring it. But now I'm using it to find leads and all kinds of stuff. Sally says I am on it and post to it. Mike says I'm in LinkedIn. Lori is on it. Another Sally says I am, but don't use it much. Thad says yes, on LinkedIn, use it a lot.
Very good. And I have to tell you, LinkedIn, when it first started, you know, most of us were on for a long time and we had no clue what to do with it. It's just somebody invited us and we were there. And so it wasn't until you learned the value and how much you can pull from it. LinkedIn is just as important for you to find people as it is for people to find you. So if you want a greater exposure, spend some time on LinkedIn and start building that platform. We're going to go a few things that will make a difference in how they find you. First of all, we talk about an algorithm all the time. And, you know, Facebook just changed theirs again, and it's a constant thing. And I know Bill deals with it with all the SEO and all the time. But all algorithm is a process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations, especially by a computer. In other words, how they route things, how you get credit for things. It's like you do this and you get so many points for this. You do this and you get so many points for that. So it's the calculation that comes from it. But most people are going, I hear that all the time, an algorithm, but what is an algorithm? Okay. When you're looking at professional headshots, it's very, very important on LinkedIn. Facebook, the other platforms, you can get by with not a professional photo. But you need something that stands out, and it needs to be a headshot. Now, Adam's back a little further, and I don't like it that far back, but it's still a very professional photo. I would have no problem seeing that on LinkedIn. You notice on Lisa and Kathy both here, theirs is much closer. That's where you really need it to be, because that's the first place they start to know, like, and trust you. I love outdoor pictures like Adam's got here, but I wear transitional lenses. So when I finished, it looked like I had sunglasses on. So make sure when you're taking them, you want them up close and personal. And even though Adam has the background that's a little busy, it still doesn't overpower him. Yet you'll notice the other two have a solid background. You want your face to be bold and up front. And again, so this is the first place they start to decide if they're going to connect with you. And a LinkedIn profile with a professional headshot gets 14 times more views. And they say the ideal size of that profile photo is a 400 by 400. I also want to say when it comes to the images, I get asked all the time, okay, but you know, that's not the way I dress normally. Well, tell me what you do. So maybe if you're a trainer, you could get by with, you know, a sweatshirt and sweatpants and those kind of things. But still, LinkedIn is where you want to put your best foot forward. And how many of you, if you come to a profile and there was no photo, you would connect with them? Would you connect if there's no photo?
I certainly don't. Lori says never. Thad says no.
Absolutely. And I also want to mention the thank you at Starbucks by this photo. If I cannot, and you're using one from 20 years ago, please stop doing that. I have a client that said to me, but that was my favorite picture. Well, but I would never find you by that picture. I may not like the way I look either, but they've got to be able to look at that photo and look at me at Starbucks and go, yep, that's the same person. Now, why do we care if you're the owner? No offense, but we don't. On LinkedIn, we do not care, and that's what most people put in their title. They're the owner. You get 120 characters. That is your most valuable real estate on LinkedIn. You'll see how mine says market domination strategist, a pipe, speaker, a pipe, dynamic results bar, entrepreneurs, type, women direct sales leaders, and teams. The reason for the pipe, because that makes that separate searchable. If I kept it all together, nobody's going to be looking for market domination strategist, speaker, dynamic results bar, entrepreneurs, women direct sales leaders, and teams. You see what I'm saying there? So that's why you use that pipe to totally separate that. You put your key words in there. Those need to be keyword rich all the way through. And nobody cares if I'm the owner. They want to know why they would want to connect with me. What do I do and who do I work with that would make it beneficial for them to connect with me? So that's what you want to make sure of. Use that 120 characters wisely. And as you see, if you're not connected to 500, make that your first goal. Because all LinkedIn shows is if you're 500 plus. They don't care how many more you have, but make sure it shows 500 plus. So make that your first goal if you're not connected to that many. Endorsements versus recommendations. The scale on that. There is no comparison on LinkedIn when it comes to those two. An endorsement just says, oh yes, I know Will does SEO. I know he's the guru for that. I know some of the other things he does, and I'm going to say yes to those. The difference is I'm just saying I know he does that. A recommendation means I've worked with him, I know his skill set, and I'm willing to go in and make that recommendation, say everybody needs to work with him because. That recommendation is what holds the clout. That's what LinkedIn looks at. So when you want to come up in the search engines higher, make sure you have those recommendations. Those keywords, the recommendations are extremely important. When you ask for a recommendation, please make sure you tell them kind of what you're looking for. Don't just ask for the recommendation. Right now, if I was asking Will to give me a recommendation, I would say, Will, would you mind giving me a recommendation on LinkedIn? And what I'm looking for, was I professional? Did I know, the services? Did I know the platforms? Was I knowledgeable? Did I have a great audience? Those kind of things. And then he knows exactly very quickly how to just write that. Because if I just say, Will you write a recommendation? He goes, sure. And he doesn't mind. But he goes, kind of busy. I'll do that later. And then he looks at it on his list and he goes, still don't have time to think about that. I'll do it later. And later becomes never. So make sure you're giving them some tips of what you're looking for. Let's look at YouTube real quick. YouTube is, if I say YouTube is, what does everybody know it is? It's the second largest. I know Will knows this is loud and clear.
YouTube is the number 2 search engine.
Absolutely, and it's not even a search engine, but that's what everybody uses it for. And the number one thing to come up when you search on the web is a video. So if you're in business and you don't have videos, I cannot encourage you enough to make sure that becomes part of your marketing. I already said it, but keywords are king. Not only in that title, but in your summary. And when you're doing your summary, remember your first 2 sentences are basically the only thing people see. So make sure those are your most powerful statements before you can fill all the rest of it in and you get 2,000 characters. Use it. Fill it with keywords, but make sure for the people that are looking at it and not for the algorithm that you put the powerful things in those first 2 sentences.
This is for the video description.
What's that?
Is that what you're talking about? The keywords, you need to put those in your keyword description. I mean, in your video description.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing is you need your banner up there. Extremely important that you have a banner. You'll see Red Canoe Media, and I'll tell you, this banner is one of the toughest banners to make work. This is your sizes on it. But even when you put it in and it looks perfect, it kind of cuts it off. You'll see how it's kind of cut off on Will's at the top, but you still see everything you need to see. So make sure that when you're adjusting it, that when you do your image creation, leave a little bit of room at the top there because it's going to get cut off. Okay. Now the title only allows 70 characters on your video titles. They say 60 are best because then they don't get cut off at the end. So make sure you've got your power in the middle of that. Now your description title, add your website address. Most leave that off, and we again are so busy that we don't take the time to go look. So if you view one of my videos, you're going to see it might have been one on sales and marketing tips for those in network marketing, but it's also going to have my full clickable website address. So when you put it in there, make sure you start with the HTTP so that they can click right on there and get straight to you and more information about you. The easier you make it, the more likely they'll do business with you. Before we get to that, are there any other questions?
Let me look and see if there's anything else popping in here. I don't see anything at the moment. Anybody else have any questions for Karen? I know that putting a link in the description of your YouTube video is very smart, and I think the further up you put it, the better off you are, because as you said, it gets cut off after so long anyway. So you might as well try to get those people to click on your stuff and get over to your website, right?
Mm-hmm. It's true.
All right. I don't see any other questions at the moment.
Okay. Well, as you told them earlier, I would have something special for them if they wanted to continue and know more. I do a marketing assessment with coaching, because how many times have you taken an assessment, you get the details from it, but you have no idea what they really mean? So that's what this covers. Not only do I go in and do an assessment of everything, and especially if you've had your sites created over 2 years, guaranteed you need an assessment, because there's areas that have been optimized and changed with all the algorithms. We know the algorithms can change daily. So if it's been over 2 years, you definitely need an assessment to know if all of your platforms are working together, if you're working on the right platforms, and ways to optimize that and get more out of it. And typically that is $497, and because of Will today and asking for a special, we did the $397. And if you'll just go to Karen.com/grow, you'll find talking about the perfect client in the beginning. You'll also find that at the bottom of this page as well, so you can pull that PDF as well. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for the special offer too. I appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure. I always like working with Will. Will is one of the most brilliant people you will ever meet. I feel it an honor to call him not only a colleague, but a friend. And this man just eats and drinks tech, and I love every bit of it. If you ever need an app, he can find every app you need. But he is just so amazing with his creativity and knowing all of those technical parts and how they go together to help his clients. He's just amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you
keep
for
going,
this.
Keep going. No.
Tell me more.
Mike says, thank you very much, Will and Karen. Sally says, great presentation, Karen and Will. Thank you so much for this. Thad says, Karen, another amazing presentation. I'm smarter after every one. Mike again says, I must leave now, but we'll keep in touch. So fantastic. Take advantage of this offer, KarenTheConnector.com/grow. And I will follow up with everyone with a replay and a link to Karen's offer. Lori says thank you as well. So Karen, I really appreciate you taking some time and sharing all these fantastic tips with us today.
My pleasure, and thanks to everyone who was on.